Welcome to the Unique History channel. Today we'll be doing a cover-to-cover read of The Jewish Question in Italy by Herman de Vries de heeklingen. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. So let's jump in. It is impossible for two conceptions of life diametrically opposed to each other to exist at the same time without entering into conflict. You cannot wed fire to water. Either the fire will turn the water into steam, or else the water will put out the fire. And those people who, either because they are opportunists or because they are too cowardly to dare condemn what is wrong, claim to be able to stand aside impartially from both antagonists, all these apathetic folk, these mediocrities, all these indifferent beings will one day be consumed by the fire of the conflagration. Such people, if they would only open their eyes, might learn a lesson from the Jews. From its very beginning, Judaism has proclaimed its mission to regenerate the world, and the Jews have never abandoned this proud dream. In adversity and in prosperity, they have always strained towards the same end. When they feel themselves inferior in strength, they dissemble, fall back upon to try and secretly to undermine the national defense within the basis of Christianity. They work openly when they have won seats in government and when they have been able to slide into the most important posts of the public administration. This latter state of things occurs when the Christians no longer live up to their faith and where they have lost the strength to defend with courage the ideals of their forefathers. Above all, it occurs where members of the Jewish race are accepted into the family and the Jews are able to inculcate their ideas upon the youth of the nation, where expediency has the upper hand. But when a country wakes up, and when it rejects every opportune materialism, and when it lives for an ideal, then Judaism at once understands that its aspirations to power are in danger. And if such a country takes no special measures against Judaism, this latter becomes its immortal enemy and will work without respite to bring about its downfall. This is what happened in Italy. How many articles against fascism were published by the Jewish press, owing to Jewish aspiration, before Italy decided upon a measure of self-defense? What masses of false information have been spread by press agencies where the Jewish element is dominant? The Congress Against Anti-Semitism held in 1936 in Paris, where the Jews were also powerful, was so violent that the Universal Israelite thought it well to call the Jews' attention that in fact they had no grievance against fascism, and to warn them that they were risking the awakening of anti-Semitism in Italy if they went on in such a manner. At the time of the sanctions, things were even worse. The Jews thought they had at least really found a way to crush fascism, and when fascism, under the leader of El Duce, came forth victorious from the conflict with the 52 states, and when it subsequently the Red Thieves and assassins in Spain were vanquished, the wrath of the Jews could no longer be contained. We do not know the hidden forces in which are ascertaining this moral and material mobilization against fascism and National Socialism. But we do know that everyone who has recognized the Jewish peril is stigmatized as an agent of Hitler or as a fascist. That is, as an enemy of his country. And we know very well that there are certain circles in which are opposed to any kind of agreement with whatever the totalitarian countries. Our children will someday realize how great the Jewish influence is in all these manifestations. In a point of fact, Judaism cannot be other than anti-fascist. If there had been Jews among the first members of the fascist party, among the Fiume Legionnaires, and among the volunteers in Spain, it is because these Jews no longer lived or felt themselves as a part of Judaism, and that they had abandoned a doctrine that Judaism is the regenerator of the world. The fascist regime has thus given a proof of its spirit of comprehension and its high sense of justice in expecting by edict these Jews from recent legislative measures. Fascist anti-Semitic legislation is not actuated by an element of hatred. It is merely defense of the Italian race and the Italian institutions against the infiltration of Jewish elements. And it had become indispensable, not only owing to the attitude assumed by world Judaism with regard to fascism, but also the increase of Jewish influence and the wealth of Jews in Italy. One may deny this influence, but let us recall merely two facts, both dating from before the World War. A. The mayor of Rome, Ernst Nathan, was a Jew, the illegitimate son of Sarah Nathan of Pisa. He put down religious education in schools and was violently hostile to everything savoring the traditions derived from ancient Rome. B. The Jews were so successful at the 1890 elections for the provincial and town councils that archives Israelites congratulated themselves upon the fact, and that pointed out the number of Jews elected was far in excess to any due in proportion to the population in general. Italy thus found herself face to home with a growth of Jewish influence. Abroad she was menaced by the dangerous intrigues of the militant international Jews, and the Jewish opposition to the fascist regime was logical. Judaism is by nature international. It can only realize its dream by changing patriotism among other peoples into a vague humanitarian internationalism, while itself maintaining intact for its hope of a new earthly Jerusalem, which will hold sway over the nations whose resistance it hopes to break. Judaism is a leveling force. It dreams of equality, which is contrary to man's nature. The inequality of human beings is an idea extraneous to Jewish ideas. The greater the increase of Jewish influence, the more this conception disappears from various legislations. This is why the Bolshevik ideals tend, in general, to amalgamate with Jewish ideals. Judaism is anti-Christian. It hates the Christian state and its institutions. It is therefore not astonishing when the French Revolution, which is so intensely anti-Christian, had, according to the archives Israelites, a very pronounced Jewish character. The Grand Rabbi, Zadok Khan, even thanked Jehovah in a public fair for this new era initiated by the French Revolution, in which had caused an inexhaustible source of benefits for the flow forth of the good of mankind. Judaism preaches the mixture of races while taking good care to preserve the purity of its own blood. It knows very well where the half-caste is there is degeneration. Now, fascism is not international, it is not egalitarian, it is not anti-Christian, and it does not encourage the creation of half-castes. Judaism, therefore, means anti-fascism, and fascism means anti-Judaism. As soon as Italy understood the danger which are threatening her from Judaism, she made haste to defend herself, and the measures which she has taken are a mode of equity because of the complete absence of all hatred, persecution, ill-treatment, and social boycott. She has thought of nothing except the very minimum of self-defense. In order to prove that above statement is not exaggeration, let us consider the principal points in the Italian legislation for the defense of race and see how this legislation is carried out. The first article of the law of November 17, 1938, prohibits marriages between Italian citizens of Aryan blood and persons belonging to another race. Thus, the creation of a half-caste population is rendered impossible, and Italy is spared from disastrous consequences so evident in the French and Dutch colonies deriving from unions between persons belonging to races, and the intermarriage of which will result in nothing but the greatest detriment to the offspring. But unions between Jews and Aryans are also very harmful to the Christian nations, and therefore the second cost of this law is haste to define who is considered a Jew. Children of Italian parents whose one is a Jew by race, but belong to one of the branches of the Christian faith before October 1st, 1938, are not held to be Jews. The legislator was no doubt inspired by the idea that the Talmud could no longer exercise its baneful influence over that one of the parents who had in the past has abandoned Judaism, and that the child can therefore be considered as being safe from any type of Jewish control. Article 10 debars Jews from military service and forbids them to be guardians to minors or to be the trustees of persons who are under guardianship of non-Jews. They may not own businesses or industries which are in the interest of the national defense, nor they may be employed in businesses or industries. They may not be the proprietor of the lands yielding an income of more than 5,000 lier or real estate yielding more than 20,000 lier. These limitations are connected with the defense of the state and to prevent the impoverishment of people. They had become necessary already at the beginning of the century. 9.26% of Jews had fixed incomes or pensions, against only 2.86% of the Christians. Since then, the situation has grown definitely worse. For example, at Turin, 12% of the real estate belongs to the Jews, who are no more than 6% of the population. Their landed property in the same city, which was worth more than 1 million lier at Genova, the real estate which belonged to the Jews had value of more than 300 millions. At Bologna, it was estimated at 40 millions, and so on. But property belonging to the Jews which surpasses the limit fixed by law is not confiscated. An official society has been formed to administer or liquidate this property, and the former privateers receive in exchange government stock bearing interest. The Jews also have the right to make their property as a gift to members of their family who is not Jewish. This naturally permits all kinds of arrangements. They can make donations to the various public benefit societies. All naturalizations of Jews after January 1st, 1919 had been annulled. These Jews and all Jews belonging to other nations were obligated to leave Italy before March 12, 1939. Another article of the law prohibits Jews to have servants who are not Jews. The Church has always insisted upon this from the earliest days until now. The law of November 15, 1938 excludes from primary and secondary schools and from the universities all Jews without any distinction whatsoever. Jews cannot attend the course of lectures in any school, institution, or university frequented by Italians. But it is permitted to Jews who hold the Catholic faith to attend the schools and institutions maintained by the ecclesiastical authorities, and Jewish students already following the course of lectures in the university or higher institutes of education are allowed to complete their studies. In localities where there are more than 10 Jewish children, the state will provide for them special sections in the elementary schools. The various Jewish communities may also be authorized to open elementary and secondary Jewish schools. This explanatory summary of the Italian legislation for the defense of race would not be complete if we did not add it contains absolutely no rigid measures that there are any exceptions to its application. For example, the following are not subjected for the most part to the limitations of the law: the families of Jewish soldiers, the families of Jews who have fallen for the fascist cause, the families of Jewish volunteers in the Italian wars, the families of soldiers decorated the cross, the families of Jews disabled or wounded in the fascist cause, the families of Jews inscribed in the fascist party during the years 1919, 1920, 1912, and during the second half of 1924, and the families of Jews who have been fiume legionnaires. And finally, the families of Jews who have rendered special service to the Italian state. This, in all, not including the last categories, numbers which not are known, 3,522 out of about 15,000 Jewish families. The law which excludes Jews from liberal professions becomes ineffective in the month of February 1940. After this date, persons exercising such professions will be classified into three categories. 1. Aryans. 2. Jews have deserved well of the fascist state. And 3. Jews who practice their profession only among their co-religionists. The measures adopted by the government have always inspired the same principles. The Jews are the enemy of fascism and a danger to the Italian state. Therefore, foreign Jews and all Jews naturalized since the Great War are expelled from the country. The same provocative measures are taken with regard to others, with the exception of all Jews who have deserved well of the fascist state. But these exceptions do not extend to the teaching professions, the press, and the public services. These functions are the pillars upon which the state rests and therefore suffer no change. Very large concessions have also been made with regard to the persons who are obligated by law to leave the country. Foreign Jews over 65 years of age are under no obligation to go in these facilities, or even accorded to them, by which they may keep with them their children and other persons who are necessary to take care of them. Foreign Jews who have married Italians are likewise permitted to reside in Italy. Sick persons who have been allowed to postpone their departure, a general postponement for several months, has been granted to all those Jews who could not wind up their business before the date originally fixed for their departure. And finally, in several other cases, El Duce himself has intervened personally with a few to eliminate any hardships. The Italian government has not limited itself to these defensive measures, but has declared itself willing to undertake constructive action in collaborating towards an international and definite solution of the Jewish problem. The author has often pointed out dangers of repeating the errors of the past. If this is done, it will be impossible for the world to escape from the vicious circle of its many troubles. The expulsion of Jews can lead to no lasting circle in results accompanied by other measures. Driven from one country, they will go to another. The increase of their numbers awakens or automatically strengthens the feeling of anti-Semitism, and one day inevitably their purgations will begin all over again. Kindly and human sentiments for the many moment render their law a lot less hard, but can never do away with the causes in which provoke anti-Semitism. Now, these causes are not to be sought among other people, but among Jews themselves. Otherwise, how would it be impossible to explain that Jews have always been everywhere and persecuted? It is absolutely useless to go around the world looking for places capable of seizing thousands and tens of thousands or 100,000 Jews as being done in the present time. The Jews must be given a country of their own. The diaspora must come to an end once and for all. The Jews have a right to possess a country of their own where they may live in accordance with their traditions and mode of life. Mussolini has understood this, and he has not limited himself to the statute to Italian Jews and expel undesirables. In the autumn of 1938, he declared, in a reply to a message from President Roosevelt, that Italy disposed to grant Jews a part of Italian East Africa, on condition that the British and French governments cooperated carrying out this project, likewise by granting a part of their colonial possessions in the region. Both these governments rejected the Italian suggestion, thus postponing a definite solution of the question and leaving Italy to carry out no more of the program than which had concerned her own home life. A tremendous outcry was raised by this legislation, in which it had nothing inhumane and was solely concerned with the question of legitimate self-defense. People who consider the French Revolution and its consequences as steps in human progress could hardly do otherwise than disapprove the law of November 15th, 1938. Their ancestors applauded when France sent the best of its sons to the guillotine, and their fathers were full of enthusiasm when the revolutionary principles, falsely called democratic, spread all over Europe, and they themselves were overjoyed when the Tsar's terror was replaced by the real terror of the Bolsheviks. All this is comprehensible and logical as far as concerns imbued with the principles of 1789. But what could be said for certain Christians who have made themselves the paladins of the Jews and who cry about persecution when Italy takes measures of self-defense? And what has been the legislation of the Church in regard to the Jews? The Vatican has protested against only one of these articles in defense of the Italian race. The article deals with mixed marriages, but the Church and State have agreed in accepting a modus vivendi in which reconciles the dogmas of the Church and the necessities of the State. The direct principles of the Church since the 5th century have been renewed in recent fascist laws. The Church in Italy has always forbidden marriages between Jews and Catholics. The Italian law forbids marriages between Jews and Italians. The Church has always intervened in those cases where the Catholic sovereigns have admitted Jews to the magistracy of their country. The Italian legislation excludes Jews from the magistracy. The Church has always insisted that care should be taken in regard to everything concerning public life to prevent Jews from occupying posts in which would give them a certain authority over the Christians. The Italian legislation excludes Jews from public office. The Church has never admitted that Jews should be allowed to take part in scholastic professions. Italy has removed from the schools the Jewish teachers and professors. The Church has often protested against the abusive enrichment of the Jews and the consequent impoverishment of Christians. Italy has taken suitable measures. She does not expropriate the possessions of Jews, but she imposes the limits. The Church obligated to the Jews to wear a distinctive badge, but is often permitted for them to remove it when they went abroad. Italy records their status as Jews in official documents for home use, but not used abroad. The Church has forbidden Catholics to enter the service of Jews. Italy has made the same prohibition as regards Italians. The Church has forbidden Christian women to become the nurses to Jewish children to engage in Jewish nurseries for Catholic children. Italy has taken similar measures. The Church has often condemned the hatred of the Jews and the persecution which are often caused by such hatred. Here, too, Italy's conduct has been that of a Christian state. Hatred and persecution are entirely lacking, not only in legislation, but also in the sentiments of the Italian people. And let it not be forgotten that the measures recently taken in Italy are out of date. In 1865, the Synod of Diocese of Utrecht laid special stress upon Benedict's statements relative to the dangers which threatens Christians who take service with Jews and who enter into familiar relationships with them. Recently, in an excellent sermon on the Jewish question, Giovanni Canazzi, Bishop of Cremona, has recalled the fact that the Church cannot only admit a material policy with regard to the race question, and that she has always raised her voice when Christians went beyond the limits of common charity, but in that, in our own times, these Catholics who respect the rules of the Church must not take Jewish servants and enter into the service of Jews, and that they must not take Jewish nurses for their children or permit them to be taught by Jewish professors. Okay, thank you. That was a full cover-to-cover read.